I was celebrating you in the opening segment. I went back to 2013 Game 6 in downtown Indianapolis when you had, as I was reading about it, just sort of refreshing my memory, what is
Yeah.
described now, even today, as the most iconic block in Pacers history. Obviously, that block in a 2-point game in the playoffs against Carmelo Anthony and the New York Knicks. When you're back in Indianapolis this weekend, or even walking around New York when we're up in New York working, how often does that get brought up to you?
Man, I walk to studio, and all the time I get, people that stop me and say, "Man, that block on Melo set us back like 10 years," and everything like that. I have the utmost respect for Melo. Our team did when we played them. And the Knicks, we knew what they brought to the table, a level of excitement, Broadway and everything like that. And I feel like Brunson and Melo has that effect. But, going back to my time, Melo was electric, one of the best scorers in the league. And that's why I said, the defense on him was paramount. But, Brunson and these Knicks here are just as Broadway and just as good of athletes. But I think my Pacers are going to get it done.
On that block, and then we'll talk Knicks-Pacers in
Yeah.
present time. I was explaining to people, I've talked to you about this before, and when you see the slow motion replay, your hand bends back pretty far.
Yeah.
You were hurt on that play, weren't you?
Yeah. So later on, like the next day in practice, we're doing drills. And I'm trying to pass, and my hand is real numb, and basically had to get work done on it. But that block definitely it bent my hand back, and definitely my body just went into overdrive there. Like I don't remember doing it. It just a flip was switched, and and then I just went to go protect the basket and have my teammates back.
So then you're back in Indianapolis this weekend for Knicks-Pacers. You're obviously a big figure in the history of these two franchises. I saw you in a Miles Turner jersey. I know what it's like when Zach Randolph comes back to Memphis or Mike Conley comes back to Memphis. What's it like when Roy Hibbert goes back to Indianapolis?
So I'm gonna be honest with you. The first time I went back at the beginning of the season was to do the race car, the pace car thing. I was really nervous. They kind of like kicked my butt out there. After I was done with the Pacers, they traded me and they washed their hands on me and everything like that. Emotionally, that was tough to get over. But as life goes on, you have to move on. And I feel like the Pacer fans have accepted me back. I enjoyed my time there, but I was very nervous. But I definitely enjoyed the process of going there. And I thought to myself, I could wear my own jersey to the game, but I felt that it was right for me. I wanted to wear Miles Turner's jersey because in my mind, I thought to myself, when the Pacers brought me in here, and you said I had I'm remembered in the history of with the block and everything. I thought to myself, Jo was like one of the best centers to ever come through and wear a Pacers jersey. And they kicked him up, they got him up out of there, and they brought me in there. And then it's kind of like it goes full circle now. And at the same time, I said, you know what, Miles came, took my position, but in the long run, this is business. I want him to be successful. I want the Pacers to be successful. So I was just like, let me support the team now, as opposed to like going back and this, being full of myself and wearing my own jersey.
I'm talking to Roy Hibbert, Pacers legend, two-time NBA All-Star. He's here on the Gary Parrish Show. You were in Indianapolis. This series is obviously electric. The Knicks, though, have, Jalen Brunson has been banged up. OG Anunoby is out. We're now tied 2-2. I know you already tipped your hand. You think the Pacers are going to pull this out, but how surprised are you, if at all, that they were able to battle back when it looked like they were really up against it after those first couple of games?
To be honest with you, just looking at the when we do our halftime show, we have to look at like halftime, the box score, and as you see consistently going into the playoffs, as the end of the season, the roster shrinks, the playing time shrinks, and I started to see that Thibodeau is only playing like 7 players per night, and I remember Rip Hamilton, who was a former Wizards. I live in D.C., so I was always a fan of his. Got a chance to play against him when he was in Chicago, and I remember him saying, "Man, playing for Tib, man, he shaved 2 years off my career because he practices so hard and he expects so much out of your players." So when I hear something like that, I start to say, all right, hold up. 7 players are only playing. That he has a history of, getting the best out of his players, but he needs a lot out of them. And I always felt that, the Pacers, who aren't the best defensive team, but one of the better running, faster paced team, if they can stay healthy, if they can grind it out, make it ugly, get it to a game 6, game 7, I think that the roster on the Knicks side is just going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, because you have guys out there playing now who have had no consistent minutes at all. And I'm sorry I'm long-winded.
No, please. Trust me. This is the place for you to be long-winded. This ain't television where somebody's in your ear saying, wrap it up, moving on. You can talk for as long as you want.
No heroes, no heroes, no capes.
No heroes in TV. Elsewhere in the playoffs, I think the other series that has flipped a little bit is Denver, Minnesota, with the Nuggets now winning 2 games in Minneapolis. They've tied that series 2-2. Nikola Jokic just won his third, just won another MVP. You obviously played against him. Did you ever see this happening with him when he first entered the league?
So my last year in the league, I was on 3 teams in 1 year, and I knew it was time to pack it in and everything like that. So my last month and a half in the season, I basically spent with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I was with him. I would guard him in practice, and he would be like the most fun-loving. Like, he would play ping pong before every game with the equipment manager, and just like, I wouldn't say he wouldn't touch a weight, but like wasn't as dedicated in the. I was only there for a month and a half, but so I wouldn't go that far. But man, to see the things that he's doing, how nimble he is, I'm saying, like, man, like, maybe NBA players or a few aspiring should go play overseas for a little bit. But I'm happy to see the things that he's doing. They constructed a good roster around him. I think that he plays so well with Aaron Gordon, who I feel like is one of the better glue guys. But another MVP for Joker, and he deserves it.
I want to talk to you about some things outside of basketball, or things outside of the 2024 NBA playoffs, because you've lived a fascinating life and you've had an amazing career. It happens all the time to you, I'm assuming, because it happens to me as recently as 2 hours ago in this studio. I'm saying, they're like, hey, what's going on with the show today? I'm like, yeah, Roy Hibbert's going to come on. And somebody says, oh, Parks and Rec. How often do people mention Parks and Rec to you, as opposed to, were you an All-American NBA All-Star? Like, the TV stuff is something that people recognize you from as well.
Oh, yeah, man. People come up to me like Jello shot, in my comments all the time, or, Parks and Rec. I love you from Parks and Rec. And that's how I get more. I get stopped for that more from time to time than anything else, though. But I enjoyed it. I always said that it was one of the hardest things to do. I could hit a free throw in game 7, end of the game, easy. But trying to remember my lines when you have, Aziz Ansari and then like all those guys on set, it was definitely tough, but it was a good experience. But definitely want to do a little bit more acting in the future.
How did that all come about exactly? Do you remember when you get a phone call and somebody says they're interested in you on Parks and Rec?
So, I'm gonna I'm gonna tell you the story. So, my wife and myself, we during the NBA season, we'd watch a lot of TV shows when I was at home. So we used to watch a show called The Good Wife, and it's a show based in Chicago about some lawyers and everything like that. And the main character went to Georgetown and everything like that. So I was always fascinated by the show, and then I saw an article that Derrick Rose was supposed to shoot an episode for the show, and it was a day off, and I guess the studio had sent a car for him to fly him to LA to film the episode, but he overslept and he missed the car and everything like that, so he didn't film the episode. So I thought to myself, what TV show could I be on? Because that makes sense, And lo and behold, I watched Parks and Rec. So I think I called my agent and David Falk, and then he was like, all right, Roy, I'm trying to work on this for you. He calls Lauren Michaels up at NBC and everything like that. And then he gets the producers and the person that runs the show. So we got on a call, and we chopped it up, and then they was like, all right, so basically they wrote me into the show. Detlef Shrimp had already been on the show the season before. Shout out to Detlef, is a real cool guy. And that basically I got 3 episodes from just thinking what would be fun and connecting the dots. And I get 70 cents a year in the mail for my residuals. So there you go.
What an amazing story. I'm wrapping up here with Roy Hibbert, two-time NBA All-Star, Pacers legend. Last thing before I let you go, you are one of the few people who can forever say, in the final year of Kobe Bryant's NBA career, I was right there with him. What was it like, first to be around Kobe Bryant and also to spend that year playing for the Lakers under those circumstances?
So I will say this though, traveling with him was an experience. He had a documentary crew with him the whole year and everything. So, you know, I can't wait to see what good and, bad comes out of that whenever it does come out, if it does, because he had literally like a camera crew on the bus, on the team bus. So it was definitely an experience. I will say this though, in his last year, he didn't practice that much, obviously, hampered with injuries. And the most important thing that he wanted to do was like go out there and put on a show for the Lakers fans and everything like that. So, but when he did come to practice, I can count the number of times on my hand he did come to practice. And basically like, he would we'd go through the conditioning part and then, go through the plays. And then this is what I always remember about Kobe, about Bean, was like when he stepped on the court for the last 20, 30 minutes of the scrimmaging of practice, the level of intensity just rose. Like it was like the air was tight. There was no more goofing around on the sidelines. It was just always like his side. He wanted to post up like a mamba snake. But man, like it was crazy. Like we get to Memphis, and there's I remember there's only one or two hotels teams would stay at 4 a.m. and there would be like 200, 300 people outside at 3, 4 a.m. Just wanting to get a picture with Kobe or get a chance to Kobe say hi. Or I remember somebody trying to get him to sign his rap CD or something like that though. So I forgot if he signed it or not. But and the last thing I'll say about this though, I said two things. I had never seen so many grown men at the end of the game on both sides, on the Utah Jazz and the Lakers staff. When Kobe opened up, he was like, "Yo, if anybody wants anything signed or autographed," I seen trainers running down Staples Center in the hallway just to get to the locker room and everything like that. But prior to that, last thing I'll say was I remember we're all drinking in the locker room and everything like that, and I go outside to go see my wife to get something to get signed from Kobe, and the security guard wouldn't let Kanye West. He's right there at the front door. They would not let Kanye West in, and I was like, I told the guy it's okay. I think Kobe is waiting for him and everything. So they eventually, I got Kanye in to see Kobe, on the last game. That's what I feel. That's the last thing I'll say about that.
What an amazing story. What an amazing career you've carved out. And now you're a rising star in sports media as well. And I'm just happy that I get to work with you and get to know you. It's been a real thrill for me, man. I love you. I appreciate you being here, and I can't wait to see you again, buddy.
The Gary Parrish Show, live weekdays at 10 a.m.